Well, good morning. So I am Adam Wilson, and I am the Diocesan Coordinator for Education for Ministry, or commonly referred to as EFM, here in the Episcopal Diocese of East Tennessee. So as some of you may remember, Dory invited me to come and give a presentation a couple of months ago, and so she did invite me to come and preach today, and so thank you very much, everyone, for having me. And I will also be coming back here in a couple of months as we get closer to summer to do another presentation during the Christian Formation block. But what EFM is? So EFM, as Swanee describes it, is a program in practical theology. And it is based on a set of 5 core practices that form and support us in the various ministries to which we are called. Now, those 5 core practices are living in community, regular prayer and worship, theological reflection, study of the Christian tradition, and vocational discernment. Now, as I've gone across the diocese and talked to different people who've been involved in EFM over the years, one of the things that the biggest misconception people have about it is that it is a purely academic program. And whereas in the past that has very much been the case, and over the last few years I've kind of liked to treat it like a good bait and switch. You're going to come in, get this huge education with a great certificate at the end. But the reality, I kind of just like to throw it out there now. This is about practical theology. It is an opportunity for you to come into a small group that is confidential and really build some skills and some tools to take with you as you go out and serve the world. What's fun about today's gospel lesson is John gives us a good lesson here in practical theology as well. So John the Baptist is out there doing his thing, preaching out in the wilderness, and the crowds are coming to him to get baptized. And 3 times they ask him, "What then should we do?" And so John doesn't give him this grand theological discourse on what to believe or what right belief truly is. But he gives them answers on right action. You'll see in our epistle today, when Paul was writing to the Philippians, he says somewhat the same thing. "Let your gentleness be known to everyone, for the Lord is near." Let your gentleness be known to everyone. The Lord is near. As I was reading that, I was reminded of a book called God is in the Manger. It's a collection of thoughts by Dietrich Bonhoeffer. And in one of his reflections, he states, "As long as there are people, Christ will walk the earth as your neighbor, as the one through whom God calls you, speaks to you, makes demands on you. That is the great seriousness and the great blessedness of the Advent message. Christ is standing at the door. He lives in the form of a human being among us." So right now, we're stuck in a really interesting place. Liturgically, scripturally, we're preparing for Jesus to come. But from a practical standpoint, he's already right outside those doors. Looking at this, some of us are like John. We know our call. We know what we're supposed to be doing. We are out there preaching and baptizing. And then some of us are much like the crowds. We're not quite sure the direction we're going, still trying to figure all this out. And we're asking, what then should we do? And let's be real here for a minute. In a way, I'm kind of in that same position. So there was this really cool moment. So back in 2005, I was a senior in high school, singing in the choir down at St. Luke's in Cleveland, Tennessee. And I had gotten there early, and I sat in one of the pews waiting on everybody to show up. And I looked up at the stained glass, and it was then that it hit me. There's something bigger going on here. There's something more to all this. And my initial response was, well, nuts. What do I do with that now? I've got this movement. I've got this call. I understand that there's something going on. But what do I do with it? And so it's led me on this fun journey of times where I am much like John, literally up here preaching to the masses, doing EFM, doing some chaplaincy work out in the community, getting the kids involved and helping the marginalized. And that's a lot of what people see. But then there's this flip side of those late sleepless nights where I'm staring at a wall at 3 a.m, me asking God, what then am I supposed to do? Where am I going with all this? And so there's this fun word that we toss around in EFM, and it's not one that I'm particularly fond of, but we do use it, and it's called discernment. Now, traditionally, I have viewed discernment almost as a path, as a means to an end, right? You go through this process of discernment, and at the end, you get your collar, your title, your place within the hierarchy of the church, and it stops. But something that I've come to realize over the years is that discernment is not a means to an end, but rather it's a way of life. There are times where my call is very, very clear. And there are times where I'm out wandering in the wilderness, wondering where it is I'm going. And this is what Advent is all about. It's a time of preparation, a time for discernment, a time to step back and look at our gifts, our talents, where that movement of the Spirit is taking us. And for me, that's kind of scary. I find it somewhat terrifying that this notion that there is some grander plan, that down the road, I know I'm going to be doing something. I'm not entirely sure what it is. There's so much certainty in the uncertainty. And for me, that's just scary. In EFM, one of the things that we try to cultivate is a sense of community. If we can build that sense of community in the small group, we can take it out and build that sense of community here in the wider church. And so as you're reflecting on your calls, reflecting on where you're supposed to go, just know that you're surrounded by this community of people who loves you and are here to help clarify where it is this call is taking you. You've got some amazing clergy, Dory and Rick. You've got Bo, your future deacon. Mary, over there in the back, hanging out downstairs with the kids. And if you don't feel comfortable talking to them, you've got Canon Beverly Hurley Hill out at the diocese. You've always got me out at St. Andrews, but never hesitate to reach out and give me a shout. We can go catch some coffee and talk. But we have a few weeks left in Advent where Jesus will be here scripturally, liturgically, and practically. So here's where I'm going to leave you. In these last few weeks of Advent, take this time to reflect, take this time to discern, and take this time to prepare. Sit back, have some quiet moments with God, and truly ask yourself, what then should we do? Amen.